So we got to talk about this split going on in the Democrat Party, and it is absolutely amazing. Now, I talked about this, I believe it was last week, with Jake Tapper, who went on air, live on CNN, to go after one of the left's biggest online personalities in Hassan Piker. And I thought it was quite interesting, right? Because one, you really never see that. You always see the left making excuses for individuals on the left, covering things up, right? And so to see somebody on mainstream media, clearly a Democrat, going after somebody that's prominent on the left, I thought it was quite interesting. And in that video, I said the split is beginning to happen. Now, I famously also have stated in the past that, I didn't think that split would happen until after the 2028 presidential election, where they would lose again. And then we would see that happen, but apparently it's already going down. And I want to dive into a little bit more of this because we have a situation where someone in the Democrat Party is talking about, we're going to have to split from these far left individuals. And I find that quite interesting. So before we hop into it, make sure you guys smack that like button. And if you are not subscribed already, hit that subscribe button as well. Go and subscribe to my second channel also. It is called Extra Rich. The link is down below in the description box. I am pretty sure you will not be disappointed with my uploads over there as well. All right. Now let's hop on into this with Democrat Representative Richie Torres and what he recently had to say. Check it out.
I feel like there is a recognition that we went too far left on immigration. But, I feel there needs to be a fundamental restructuring within the Democratic Party, a return to a rational center. But, I worry that, Donald Trump is so aggressive that he is provoking a response.
Yeah.
That is, there's a divide between what I would say two teams in the Democratic Party. There's team restraint and team resistance, right? There were those in team resistance who feel like we should react hysterically to everything that Donald Trump says or does. And then there are those who feel like we should pick and choose our battles and be strategic. But I worry that the momentum is on the side of hysterical, hyperbolic resistance, and the enormous expenditure of time and energy and resistance might crowd out the restructuring and moderation that needs to happen within the Democratic Party.
Did you hear that? I think we need to have a restructuring of the Democrat Party and come back to the middle, is basically what he's saying here. But the people in control of the party right now are the far leftists, and they are the ones that have all of the momentum, and they're the ones that are pushing the narrative. And so that is going to be interesting to watch play out, especially when you have people like on the Hill speaking about how in trouble the Democrat Party is. And I'll be talking about this more in a video tomorrow, where I'll be going over some of the recent polls and things that have recently come out talking about the Democrat Party, because it is not looking good for them. It's not looking good. But let's hop on into this video from the Hill, because this is quite interesting as well. Check it out.
Welcome back to Rising. Aaron, what is on your mind today?
Yeah, thank you, Lindsay. Let me ask you a question. When someone spends years operating inside a system, benefiting from it, enforcing its rules, holding other people accountable to it, and then the moment it becomes personally inconvenient, steps right outside it like nothing happened, what do you call that? Because that's exactly what's happening inside the Democratic Party right now, and voters are noticing. The numbers are brutal. Around 55% of Americans view the Democratic Party unfavorably. Only about a third view them positively. That's not a bad news cycle, and it's not a messaging problem you fix with a sharper slogan or a better TikTok strategy. That's the American people looking at what this party has become and saying, we don't trust what you're selling. This week, Democrats rolled out a brand new election playbook for 2026. New tactics, new outreach, new ways to connect with voters who have been walking away. They're calling it a fresh start, a way to move past the failures of 2024 and get back in the game before the midterms. And sure, fine, every party regroups after a loss. That's pretty standard around here. But there's a difference between fixing your strategy and actually reckoning with why it failed. A new playbook tells you how to run the plays, but it doesn't ask whether you've been calling the wrong ones all along. For years, Democrats didn't just embrace identity politics, they built the party around it. Who speaks, who leads, whose voice carries the most weight. It wasn't one approach among many, it was the framework, the operating system. And if you wanted to be taken seriously inside that party, you got on board, learned the language, and you didn't ask too many uncomfortable questions about whether any of it was actually working. Now there's a new conversation happening about 2028, about what kind of candidate the party actually needs to win. And the answer quietly surfacing in Democratic circles, a straight, white, Christian guy. Not because anyone is standing up and saying we were wrong, and not because the principle changed, but because it stopped working at the ballot box. And look at who floats to the top of that conversation. Gavin Newsom, whose tenure has coincided with Los Angeles County recording the largest population decline of any county in the country. J.B. Pritzker, still doubling down on policies that voters who left the party were already telling him weren't working. And look who's quietly getting pushed aside. Gretchen Whitmer, Wes Moore, Pete Buttigieg, Josh Shapiro, Kamala Harris. Notice anything? Kamala Harris is the clearest embodiment of the system the Democratic Party built, and the clearest example of what happens when that system runs into reality. Joe Biden publicly committed to selecting a woman as his running mate before he had interviewed a single candidate. That was the starting point, not who's the strongest person for the job, but who's the strongest person inside this pre-selected category. And then there's the Jim Clyburn story. Clyburn's endorsement helped rescue Biden's 2020 primary campaign at exactly the right moment. And part of the understanding that came with it was a commitment to appoint a black woman to the Supreme Court. Enter Ketanji Brown Jackson. That is the Democrat Party's operating system right there in plain sight. Not the best idea wins, not the strongest candidate rises. You build the coalition by checking the right boxes in the right order for the right constituencies. For years, that wasn't just accepted, it was enforced. If you were questioned, if you weren't being thoughtful, you were being problematic. So now, the moment the math stops working, the moment voters start walking, it's optional? It's a calculation now instead of a conviction? Was that a principle or a strategy? Because those are two very different things. A principle is something you hold when it costs you something. A strategy is something you drop when it stops producing results. And when you've spent years telling people this is non-negotiable, this is the only moral way to operate, anyone who questions this is on the wrong side of history, and then the moment the numbers turn, you're quietly asking whether you need a straight white guy from the Midwest, people notice. They notice the gap between what you say and what you do. They notice the distance between the principle you preached and the calculation you're making now. And once they see it, they can't unsee it. That's not just a political problem, it's a trust problem. And trust, once it's gone, is a lot harder to win than an election. Voters aren't looking for a new playbook. They're looking for a party that actually believes what it says and says what it actually believes. Right now, they're not seeing that. And they're asking one question. What are you thinking?
Well, I want to know what Republicans.
Of course, she goes on to talk about Republicans. That entire segment, which was beautifully put together, by the way, going on how the Democrats are in one double hockey sticks of a pickle. She then starts to mention Republicans, and that's part of the problem with the Democrat Party. It's never a situation where, right, in mass, because of course you have little specks, right, that do this. It's never a situation in mass where they all point the finger at themselves and they, have this, come to Jesus moment, so to speak, right? Where it's like, hey, we need to reassess what it is that we're all doing. It's always, well, but Republicans, and you just heard it there, right? Before I stop the clip, you heard it like immediately flip to, well, what about Republicans? And yeah, I'm just gonna stop it there. We go spare y'all. But to get back onto the discussion at hand, yeah, the Democrats are in one crazy situation here because, like she said, they have been preaching about this, diversity. We gotta have people of color. We gotta have representation and all of this other stuff. And now you're about to push forth a straight white man in front of everybody when you've been preaching about, LGBTQ for everybody and diversity and representation. And now you're about to give everybody a straight white man. Meanwhile, that straight white man is having issues himself because California is being run absolutely terrible. A state where people are sprinting away from. absolutely sprinting away from. A state where you have cities that have created an app because of how much human feces is on the streets. And no, I'm not kidding. That is a real thing. It is absolutely crazy. A state where fraud is absolutely rampant. A state where you got so much regulation and red tape that literally nothing can get done. So much so that you have somebody like Bill Maher go on his show and complain about how crazy the stuff is there. And we know how far left Bill Maher is. So how are you going to thread that needle? Absolutely amazing, man. Absolutely amazing. I want to present you guys with this chart here. And I think this perfectly represents what has happened to the Democrat Party, right? Back in 96, on an issue like immigration, okay, we were all pretty close, right? Kind of jumbled up there. We were similar. And then you had Obama, okay? Obviously, 2008 over here. And look what happened to the Democrat Party. And I will admit, they did a good job on messaging because look where the independents went. When the Democrats split, look where the independents went too. But then reality kicked in right about here, and those consequences for this unfettered immigration talk and stuff really started to hit home. And independents started moving back towards the center, or moving back to where they originally were. Meanwhile, us on the right, hey, listen, we went further. Like, y'all tripping. I mean, it's a similar situation here as well when it comes to something like affirmative action. We've been pretty consistent here on the right. We've been pretty consistent on where we stand. Independents haven't been far off. Obviously, there was a little bit of deviation there, but look where the Democrats went. My goodness. I mean, literally almost off the charts. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. But look where we are. I mean, virtually where we started. I mean, even independents. I mean, you take a straight line up, and I mean, you're not far off of where they started, and neither are we. And as a matter of fact, I think we're a touch further to the right. Wild stuff, man. Absolutely wild stuff. But that's the problem with the Democrat Party. That is the issue with the Democrat Party. They are going to have to split with a lot of individuals. Their only saving grace at this point is them having some type of messaging, which I don't know what that would be, because they've brainwashed these folks to no end. Is the far leftists in their party, the ones who are always preach about diversity, equity, inclusion, the ones that are always out protesting, being paid protesters, those ones, is they have to hope that they come with them. And I don't see that happening. The moment that you propose a straight white man, other than, and not Kamala or some other person of color, they're going to lose their minds. And listen, they made their bed. Democrats made their bed, and now they must lie in it. You created these radical far leftists. You created that monster. And now you've got to deal with it. Right? I don't feel bad for them at all. I really don't. It will be quite interesting to watch this all play out, though. It really will. It really will. Axios says Democrats weighing runs for the White House want to forget many of the positions they took in 2020, and they're hoping voters will too, which is exactly what I said. Party leaders have shifted on border security, DEI, crime, climate change, COVID lockdowns, and more ahead of the midterms in the 2028 election. Many Democrats believe they lost to Donald Trump in 2024 because voters didn't like some of their left-leaning policies, not just how they were communicated. Well, duh. Nobody likes these left-leaning policies except for far leftists who have been absolutely brainwashed because those far left policies don't benefit American citizens. They don't benefit American citizens. I'm sorry, but what does all this climate change stuff do for American citizens? Other than burn money? Does it make your gas cheaper? Nope. Makes it more expensive. Does it put extra money in your pocket? Nope. You got to spend a lot more. Does it actually even help the environment? I would argue no, because now we're moving to batteries, which I don't know if you guys have seen how batteries are disposed of, but look it up. And how are these batteries put together? Are they just magically put together out of thin air? Do you just snap your finger and these massive batteries, just pop up out of thin air? Or are a bunch of kids digging through earth to find this stuff, to put these batteries together. And then how is that shipped? Are they shipped on electric planes or electric cargo ships or electric trains? No. It makes absolutely no sense. For example, you look at a place like California. I'm gonna let you guys get out of here shortly. They have basically put so many regulations on oil companies in California that oil companies have just like, you know what, we packing up and we leaving. And instead of backing these oil companies, ensuring that their gas prices are cheap, they're buying oil from other countries. They're getting their oil shipped to California when they have oil on their soil. It just doesn't make sense. It's just like, bro, all in the name of saving the planet. And it's like, wait a minute. So instead of you getting the oil out of the ground in California, you want somebody else to do it and ship it to you, which makes it even, it makes it to the point where you're polluting even more because now you're having to ship it. That's extra pollution. It's stuff like that that just make absolutely no sense whatsoever. But it is going to be quite interesting to watch the Democrat Party have to split, and we shall see if they're able to spin the messaging in some kind of way that is digestible for the far left in their party. But what do you guys think? Do you think the far left in their party will come off of their diversity stance and move to the middle with the rest of the Democrat Party? Or do you think they will plant their flag on the far left and say, hey, we ain't moving, and accuse the establishment Democrats of being racist and everything else that they've accused us of being? What do you guys think? Let me know. Stay safe out there. Peace and love. I'm out.